And we're off if you're ready.
Oh, yeah, okay, sure. Holy shit. I'm kind of nervous right now too.
No problem.
Okay, but yeah, I'm a night walker. I'm like looking for help with the 5, 10, 15, and the more progression towards that,
Mm-hmm.
and build on that too. With like, like right now I have like a couple of checkpoints ish, kind of questions I kind of want to ask.
Sure.
Hopefully we just go like kind of by order ish, kind of.
Yeah, we can just either do the questions and then kind of elaborate on the topic that the questions is about, or we can go one topic at a time, and then if questions arise that fit the topic, then just make sure that we pass by the questions, whichever you prefer.
Okay, yeah. We can go for topic by topic then.
Yeah.
Which is which order you want to go? Because usually you go from gear last, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, typically I do gear last, yeah. Because once I realize that all of the subjects are like adequately explained, and I feel like your level of understanding of everything is at the point where I think you know enough, or maybe even more than me at some point, then what'll happen is where to go on gear and what to focus on specifically on gear and which equips to go for will be way more understandable once you understand how like the balance of all of the other stuff in the game kind of works and helps you out.
Yeah. But I guess introduction for myself would be that I played this game like a couple years ago. I didn't go into that much. I played like at least 1 to 2 months, and it was like mostly just in my demon adventure. And then I just hated the class, so I made a night walker, which I enjoyed a lot. But I kind of quit at like 160. I just did like a lot of dailies, and then I just quit. I came back like a couple months ago, like 3 to 4 months ago, and basically all my progression from then is just from like 3 to 4 months ago is like to now is my progression right there.
So it's a lot of compensation-driven progress.
A little bit. By compensation, like I claimed the weapon and the pendant on my Hong Yun because I wanted to like experience the like getting an absolute, getting absolute stuff and stuff like just like having like the progression from like how for other people
the normal progression, yeah.
Yeah. The normal progression, yeah.
And if you do an arcane weapon, you're kind of like sidestepping a whole bunch of stuff on that. Yeah.
Yeah, which is why I went for the like. I just gave the absolute love to my Hong Yun because I actually enjoyed playing when I was living up for Legion. It's like, oh, I can just have Hong Yun as a boss of me or something.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
I just like.
So you're able to do up to like CRA there, or do the like HMAG and.
I kind of been like leaving on the side because of like the events and stuff since like 30% off and stuff, and I just been like trying to grind a lot of like mesos for time for the events. And I've been doing more Legion stuff.
Yeah.
Like trying to do 140 and stuff.
Yeah, and that's a good thing, right? And that's why Legion is typically one of the things I start with, because that is basically Legion is like funding, but for your entire account. And when you come to equips, you're doing funding, but specifically really only for one character. So that's why I tend to focus more on the other stuff first as well, because it's more like baseline. That's more the baseline that you're building on, and equip is like the last layer of upgrading because that's very character specific. So that's why I think building on your Legion and your links is very, very important, because it keeps your options open for any other character, and any other character now can start with funding, right? Like in non-reboot, they can trade equips around, and that's how you can fund your other characters. In reboot, we have to use Legion and links. Like that's our only way of funding other characters without literally just going on there and spending billions.
Yes. With the Legion, right now I believe I'm like 4K or something, and having the grid open, I just don't have enough like slot to like fill up the slots in. Is it good enough right now to like start level to 200 instead of like doing 140s to like clear up the slots, or does it keep going to the 140 to like push to 6K or something?
Yeah. So there's the. Yeah, so your question is basically like, is there more value in just adding more, like, where do the levels have more value? On existing characters or on new characters, right? That's essentially your question. So yeah, I think, yeah, so the initially just to build out your Legion grid, You're right that building out your Legion grid to 6K but having no characters to put in there is not necessarily the best. The other thing is the Legion levels to gain on new characters versus on existing characters is always easier, right? It's always easier to get a character from 0 to 60 than a 140 to 200, but it's the same amount of Legion gain. So the ultimate answer is you want to kind of do a combination of both. And the way that I would do that is honestly, like just every day or every other day, you just make one new character, get it to level 60, and just park it there. And then you're guaranteed like 60 levels or 30 levels a day from that. And at the same time, work on these bonking one character and maybe the next character, because with bonking you'll get a lot of free levels, right? You basically like you train 3 levels and then you get an extra 3 or maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less through the infinity pool. And I think that will be enough Legion work for a day, and then for the rest of the time you can just focus on your main or do what you want. If you want to level more characters, you can do that if you feel like it on a day. If on a day you just feel like grinding on your main and that's what you want to do, then you can do that. But you'll just reach, once because you have 27 Legion characters now, right? So once that reaches 40, and you do a little bit of bonking here, you do a little bit of bringing all the other characters up to 140, and you have a bunch of 141 pluses, so you do have potential for a lot of bonking. If you purely want to go efficiency of amount of levels, then you always just bonk the lowest level character that can possibly bonk. But since you'll definitely just reach 6K as long as you make one of each of the characters, because you already have some characters over, it'll probably be more efficient to do what you're thinking and make at least a few level 200s by the help of the infinity pool, to make sure that the pieces will get bigger, but also that you get access to those bigger buffs. Like for Shade, you want the double S tier, you want the extra critical damage. For Mercedes, you probably want the level 3 link, that kind of stuff. So yeah. I would probably bonk up until your characters are like somewhere between level 190 and 195 at the highest, and I would prioritize characters that you don't like playing at all, so that you can, relieve some of the excuse me, some of the like torture that it would be for you personally to level those characters. Everyone likes different characters, everyone hates different characters, so just focus on bonking what you enjoy the least and focus on leveling by yourself the characters that you like the most, so that you can make working on your Legion and your links overall the most enjoyable experience that you can.
Yeah, at the moment I'm trying to make the Mercedes to like 210. At the moment it's like 203, and it's like pretty torture, to be honest.
Which
doing
character
like
is
combos and Mercedes. Mercedes, yeah. Yep. It's like 203 is like pretty like rough right now. Trying to kill the mobs and level up is like pretty rough.
Where are you at? Where are you training it?
I'm training at like Vanishing Journey. I think like at the early stages, like I believe it's like near. It was like a combination of happy and raging. It is. Because the I think K, like below the K was like too tanky for them to kill decently fast, and the combination of happy and raging was like at 100 burning usually. I was like, oh, this can be good for now.
Yeah, it totally depends on how quickly you can kill. Once you get to 205, you can go to Reverse City. That's usually a lot easier time. A lot of level 100 burning maps, monsters really close together. That should be a lot easier. The map layouts for Vanishing Journey are typically a little bit weird, and yeah, the way Mercedes moves through the map and everything isn't, very intuitive in the beginning. Takes some getting used to. Yeah,
it's just pretty rough.
Yeah, but yeah, so with that in mind, like it does give you more experience, right? But that could also be something that you right, make sure that that doesn't go at the expense of possible like bonking potential and new character building potential, because I think the level 3 link is nice for Mercedes and everything, but it's like a little bit icing on the cake on top. And if the main thing you're doing is leveling at the very, very low levels, or you're bonking, which means that experience doesn't affect that, it might not be super necessary to go for the 210 Mercedes right now, especially if you're not enjoying it. Maybe that'll be something to do when there's some kind of haste event or something, anything, or maybe there's like an event where you can get like a triple experience coupon per character sometimes, or something like that, to kind of fast track that. Just to speed it up a little bit if you're really, really not enjoying it. it does probably feel a little bit bad because you're so close to, it's only 7 more levels. But yeah, just make sure it doesn't go at the expense of your bonking potential, because that's a lot of potential Legion growth there that you can be getting.
Yeah, I think right now I'm like bonking Evan right now because I finished Mercedes and Shade, move on to Evan, then I might go to Aaron next for the level 3 links. If I'm being correctly, yeah. Is there any like faster way to like level to 200 from like, because usually the efficient way with bonking was like you bonk to 180 or 190 around there that you could grind up. Is there any like quest lines or you just like kill mobs?
Quest line. I think at that point there's some there's like an area with quest line. God, it's like in the Savage Terminal on the bottom right. There's like, I think that's part of a quest line. I'm not 100% sure, but it's like high 170s area where like nobody really goes, but apparently the maps there are pretty good in High Burn, but everyone kind of ignores that area. And then higher up, apparently the Fox Valley quest line is pretty good. I've heard from some people. I've never done it, but I've heard good things. We were talking about yesterday about like who uses quests and stuff like that in areas to level up, and that one came up a few times. And I think Fox Valley is like around level 190 or like 185ish and up, I think.
Yeah, it was around there, I believe. Yeah.
So that would be something that you could do. Yeah, because that's specifically more for weaker characters, right? Personally, what I did is I just loaded up on all of the Monster Park buffs, on Legion coupons, on all of my links, all of my Legion just set to the character, and then just grind it out one at a time to 200 from like 140 basically, when they were all 140, and just one character at a time, just grind it out. Get some mastery books, level up all your skills, etc. But yeah, I did, that was back in the day when I had the Kana on the laptop and when you had 100% uptime on Kishin, so that made that a lot more doable for the long term to write it out, versus now you have to be like, okay, do you go like 50% uptime Kishin even if you have a laptop, or do you like dedicate totems to it? It probably makes more sense to some people do bosses as well, where they'll try to do like Chaos Horntail or something at 180 at 180 plus. That's a decent chunk of experience. Some people do that, and then some people do Pink Bean as well around that level, but that pre-quest is pretty long. You need a lot of all cures because he's very annoying in the beginning.
Yeah, it's really annoying.
So if you have a character that's specifically very good at bossing, you could do that for like big chunks, but I think most classes it won't be super time efficient, I think, to do those. So I would, personally I would just grind it out.
Okay, so grind it out. Also, on the topic of 2PC, is it worth to use a 2PC? Because I do have a laptop to use, but I don't know if it's like worth it right now with the Kisha being only like 30 seconds uptime.
Yeah, I like I said, if you still want to train your main and you want to dedicate all your totems there, or maybe on a Kana farmer, right? If you're thinking about doing that, like you're probably working on that because your totems are already being finished on your main, right? So if you don't have totems left at all, working on the Legion will be kind of restricted, when you're just basically jumping on these kind of events, and then you're kind of stuck in there. But then also, like you have to point cap, and then point capping will be slower without Kishin and stuff. If you could speed it up by 50%, that's still a lot of speed up. And I think while you're still in development mode of your Legion, there's still value definitely in having a Kana on your laptop. But as you go to the higher level areas on your Nightwalker, it's going to be less and less. It will be more and more value to have it, but it'll also be way more and more work, right? Because if you go to like 250, 255, you're trying to grind, all the way up to those levels. The amount of hours you need is so immense that doing it just on totems would take like a year plus, right? But if you have a Kana that can go there and you can Kishin, and you can throw in like a foot pedal, and they get those kind of weird techniques and stuff. You can just keep the uptime of Kishin and train also whenever you want, right? You could do shorter sessions. You don't have to do only the totem 2-hour blocks. Keep a little bit of flexibility there, but that does require your Kana to be leveled all the way up to that area. Now, thankfully, Kana is like probably the fastest leveling class in the entire game, so it's not You know, all things considering, it's not horrible, but that is an option to have later on. Yeah, it's like a middle ground. I would say like in the beginning, it has a lot of value, right, for your Legion and stuff. And as you're in areas that are easily accessible to your Kana, you know, everything up to like 235 or 240 is pretty easy for a Kana to get to level wise. But then once you get to like 255, that takes quite a bit more leveling of the Kana. It's still doable, but then where you really want the Kana, you really want Kishin available all the time, is like, you know, if the new areas come out in Neo and it's like 260 and 265 and stuff, having to level Kana on your laptop to like those levels just to Kishin you, that could be like a major turn off. So it's kind of up to you how far you want to take that. If you just want to make it like level 200, level 200-ish on the Kanas, just so it could go everywhere for all of your Legion mules to also get up to 200, you know, and then you're satisfied with your Nightwalker with the totem coverage, then you're fine.
Yeah, okay.
And it's not too much work, right? Kana to 200 is pretty fast, even on a fresh account.
Yeah, it's pretty fast indeed, especially with like how easy level is to get nowadays.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And we do have Terrorburn coming as well with Neo, so that if you're like you still don't want to do it, you can wait. If you wait a little bit, it'll still be very fast there.
Also about Terrorburn, I was planning to Terrorburn my a marksman and a blaster. Is those two like pretty good to like Terrorburn just to keep it up, or do I go like a different character instead of those two?
Marksman, I would say, yeah, is a very good top pick. For Blaster, it's a little bit wonky to play. I think Blaster was pretty strong personally, but I didn't really enjoy playing it, if that makes sense. Yeah, once you kind of get the hang of it, it's actually kind of strong, but yeah, not my favorite. For me, it usually goes up to mages. Those are just like classes I don't like playing very much. But yeah, if you're really working on like towards those level 3 links now, especially for the experienced ones, yeah, those sound like good Terrorburn options. Yeah, if those are classes that you think you won't enjoy, and Marksman is probably one you won't enjoy, it's like on the top of everyone's shit list basically. Then that even our toggles, yeah, that would then that sounds fine. Yeah, and there's a good chance that by that time you've pretty much will have made all the characters at least, you know, like a level 61 anyway, right?
Yeah.
And then they just fill in the gaps, and then with their leveling, you'll definitely be at 6k, but maybe even beyond, because bonking is probably going pretty hard, because in this picture you had 4,000 to 38, but you said the Mercedes and the Shade were already like up there bonking-wise, so you're probably already closer to like 4.2 or something now, or?
I can check right now. It's like 4.125.
Yeah. Yeah, it's already like 100 levels since you sent the screenshots. Hasn't even been a week, right? So
it'd be like 4 days, I believe.
Yeah. So yeah, you can go pretty hard. If you make one character a day, bonk another character a day, and then just do some dailies on your Nightwalker, yeah, you'll be like 6k in a few weeks easily. But yeah, don't underestimate the new character making, right? Just flooding your board with like 40 total, because that's the other thing, and that's kind of what I wanted to tie back into, is that yes, your characters that you put on the board won't cover that much ground, but the thing is, you get access to more characters as well as your rank goes up, right? And then once you're at 6k. Once you're at 6k and you have all your characters in, your coverage is going to be pretty low. You're going to have like a quarter of the outside filled and barely anything in the middle, basically. But then once you start boosting them all up to 200, then you go from that, you know, from all of the characters covering 3 squares to all of them covering 4 squares. And then that extra coverage helps you like cover an entire other block on the outside, basically.
Also, if I reach 6k, is it best to like go invest into crit damage and ID beside the luck and attack in the middle?
Yeah. It's a little bit different as a Nightwalker, right? Because attack has higher value, so you'd have to specifically ask some Nightwalkers who know like their calculation exactly. But if you need enough crit to hit 100% crit. Like critical rate, and then after that you just like full critical damage and IED as you need IED. Are you familiar with the IED calculation, how that works?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's essentially once you get the whole grid available and the whole block in there, and that's going to allow you to not need too much ID on your WSE if you can fill that one up. So that basically is like indirectly giving you percentage attack, right, of what you want on a weapon secondary or emblem.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then if you go over that, you go towards the 8K. That's when you start filling out the boss damage, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're done with the Legion. I think the next topic I want to ask was like familiars. Is it worth to go for 10 familiar badges right now, or is it just like wait until the later stages where I can farm the familiars?
Yeah, I would wait. 2 is fine, I think, and that's a really important setup. Do you have like 15% ID familiars?
Yeah, I have two 50% ID familiars.
Right, and with that's how you get the 93 visual in the screenshot.
Yeah.
Was this also with the Tobin Hair Warrior buff still?
That was with the Tobin Hair. I think I didn't like pop the familiar. It's like I actually did think I popped the familiars in the screenshot I saw you.
Okay.
Because after Tobin expired, I repopped my familiars and I went back to like 93, which was like interesting why I got 93 in that screenshot too.
Well, it is rounded up, right, in the stat window. That's why it's not very reliable to go by that. Are you aware like the difference between your visual and your functional IED?
Yeah, my function is like with my uptime with like 10% Legion stuff with that, while visual is like only for my stats and window gear and stuff like that. Yeah.
Do you know how much your functional is with your passive and stuff?
I think it was like 95 when I last checked, but when I last checked it was like a long time ago, so I can recheck that later.
That's just good to have an idea, because you're familiar with the well, since we went over Legion, you're familiar with my like link skill grid, that one, the Legion and links one. Yeah, so like for the general order, right? And then the other big one that I have is the progression one, right? So that's why you want to look at what kind of ID and what kind of stats are you looking for. So if you are like functionally at that 95, that means that you're good like for a while. That also means that if you lose ID somewhere, that it's not the end of the world. And if you gain something, that means that you can... That if you gain something somewhere, you know, with a low opportunity cost, that means that you can take it away somewhere else without, you know, falling too low, but gaining more damage as a result, right? So if you're at 95, that means that you're at that balance that you want to be at for stuff like... functionally, at the stuff that you want to be at for like hard lucid and hard will, you're already on track for that. So we don't, you know, if you go a little bit below, it's not the end of the world. If you go above, that means that something else could even go down to compensate for that. So are you at like 99 crit with decent sharp eyes, or because it says 89?
Oh yeah, so with the extra Mercedes and Shade, I went to 90%, and with decent sharp eyes, I'm at 100%.
Right, and yeah, so you're relying on the Legion board quite heavily now,
Yes.
right? Yeah. And do you use link skills with that?
I use, I believe, a Phantom and Beast Tamer.
Because there's a screenshot here, but I don't think you used the Phantom here, just the Beast Tamer.
Yeah, because that was with Tobin. Tobin had like the 50%.
Right,
so
that was
like,
15, yeah.
So, yeah. So I was like, I can swap it out for extra damage.
And are you relying on the VIP buff for some crit now?
Nope. I'm only relying on the VIP for ID and boss damage.
And boss, yeah, okay. Yeah, and experience gain probably, right? Yeah, that's a really nice buff. Okay. Right, and then with the, do you have, because for crit rate, I'm immediately thinking like Marksman and Night Lord, right? Do you have those? You were gonna make a Marksman and a Night Lord, do you have that one?
I have a 140 Night Lord.
Okay, yeah, so that's fine for crit rate. Yeah. I didn't realize you needed so much crit for a Nightwalker. That's probably why the inability, you probably want crit there, right?
Inability was like boss damage, I believe. Oh, yeah, no, actually, it was boss and crit rate, yeah, my bad.
And crit there, yeah. Yeah, because you want to move those pieces, either a link skill, or you want to move those pieces in your Legion towards boss damage, right?
Yeah.
More damage, yeah. Yeah, but while we're on topic of familiars, yeah, so you have 50% ID, yeah. The main thing is that there are some, you can get to 10 sets without getting to the higher level areas, but some of those are very, very tricky. But if you wait, you know, if you get to like 7 sets and you wait until you get all the way into Limina, because like the Moonbridge set is very easy, the Labyrinth set is very easy, and the Limina sets are very easy. It's just 3 free sets and then boom, you're at 10. Getting those extra 3 before you get to those areas is going to be way, way trickier. Like there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Yeah, there's like 14 badges that are accessible. But 3 of those are basically the super easy one at the high level. So without that, there's like 11 of them, and you have to pretty much get all of those. Yeah, so these 6 here are very easy to get.
Yes.
And then those 3 are also really easy to get, but are level gated. And then if you get 1 of these completed, you're done. But if you don't get these, then you have to do 4 of these 5, which is a little much.
Okay, then I'll probably like think about it if I want to do it or not. Then.
Yeah, or you could do like. Yeah, these are like doable. If you do like 1 or 2 of these, then with these 2. But yeah, the biggest value comes in anyway once you can, you know, start really making epics and stuff. Once you're at least at Moonbridge, and you get a lot of familiars. Only then will you really start getting familiars that are even worth putting in, right? The only thing you're putting in otherwise is like small healing or another 15% IED one, right? Which you don't necessarily need. So that might be a little bit of it sounds a little harsh, but like misplacement of your time allocated. That time can be spent better on just working on your Legion instead, rather than going to chase like familiar cards to get like a little bit more damage. I would say. You know how that works further with like familiars and the ranking up and all that?
I believe it's like you put it on, you kill mobs, they gain levels. After you fuse them together, then you rank them up. If I read correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you cry in disappointment when you get very bad potentials.
Yeah. Plus 1 jump or something like that. Jumping high. Speed. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Increases party member jump by a small amount or something on unique. Yeah, it's really top tier lines.
Yep, I definitely need that in my life. Woo!
Yeah, that's or the plus 10 mezzo per bag, super super useful. Yeah, it's been a hoot working on those, but you know, holding out for that large drop rate and stuff like that. Those are really good, of course. So
I got like a big spy from those. So do I ever like need the large drop rate or?
Yeah, so specifically for drop rate, I made a separate command because of those numbers are very weird because they just say large amount, small amount. So here you can see like what those amounts mean. So like the difference between what you have now, spider line, is this, right? Increases item and meso drop rate by a large amount. Because it's a combined line, it's 60% for each. And once you get high enough on total drop rate, then at that point meso drop rate doesn't matter anymore because you have 100% chance for a bag anyway. So then you just want to go solely on just item drop rate, because that also includes meso drop rate in it. And then if you get an increased item drop rate by a large amount, that's 100%. So there's basically another 40% drop rate that you can get. Yeah, so that's typically why people still chase for that, also, you know, for droplets and for nodes and everything, but also just for bosses, of course, for extra, you know, shards, flames, cubes, all that stuff, all that good juicy stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I think that's fine with the familiar stuff for now.
Yep. Cool.
I think now is for the V Matrix.
Yep.
Is it worth going for forcing the levels or gambling with the no stones crafting? Because I'm like kind of tied with like, do I go for like the crafting a no stone or do I just get forced it to like make a like, you know, a solid spark to like force it to level 25?
Yeah, what do Nightwalkers do again? You make 5 boost nodes?
You make 3. I went with the 4 because I really wanted the ID like ASAP when I was like doing solo CA. So I made 4 accidentally. I was like, I guess I can keep this for now until like I finally finish like leveling up my 3 nodes until level 25.
Right.
Yeah, and then after that, I was like gonna like just like delete it and just don't look back, and then
Yeah.
my actions.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, quintuple, spark, bat, omen, and then one. Yeah. So for the one you picked the domain one, Dominion. Yeah. Yeah, that seems fine. It's probably now you're probably at the time where you want to start crafting specific nodes and not gamble with the node zones anymore. Because you only have like boost nodes are the most common. You only have 3 outs, right, that you want to level at this point. So the amount of chance that one of the node zones that you make is one that you have to extract again, and you get fewer shards back than how many you made. How many it costs to make is a high chance. So that means that the efficiency of the node zone goes down. So at this point, you will probably just want to craft them as you get them.
Okay, yeah. So basically what I was doing then. Okay.
Yeah, and then you want to get them to 225, and then you can get rid of that 4th one. You start leveling up Link, I see. Probably work on Decent Holy Symbol then next. That's a big one to work on. Extra drop rate, extra EXP, so for training and for bossing for the drop is really nice to have.
So
this is your bossing setup, right?
Yeah, my bossing setup, yeah.
Do you not use the bind in your bossing setup?
I got a bind on myself already, so I was like...
Oh yeah, true, Core Stitch, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a little weird, but it gets the job done.
Yeah, I mean, if it works, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
Kind of wonky parts if it works, in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a hoot using that one for Project Sierra. I think on my clown split, it just like whiffed and didn't work. Or no, on one of in the Vellum run, I think in the Vellum Clear actually, I just like didn't work, and I was like full burst trying to burst on Vellum as level 210 with like wimpy gear, trying to kill it with the bind missing. That was fun.
Yeah, it's pretty rough, like missing the bind because it doesn't like touch the mob or something. It's pretty nice.
Yeah. Okay. So you rely on that one. Yeah, but Decent Holy Symbol is definitely a very nice one to invest in once your boost nodes get closer to being maxed. Because once you're, usually what I do once they're like level 23 or something, I usually stop crafting and I start working on my skill nodes. Because then over time you open up more boost nodes anyway, so you'll slowly level up the boost nodes without having to direct craft. Because if you make them all and get them all to 25, then all the boost nodes you get later, you'll have to extract again and get only 10 shards worth of, when they're actually worth 70 shards if you craft them. So usually I only get them up to like 22 or 23 or something.
So basically that's like stop at 23, and then I can just enhance the level 13 one I have right there. And it's like go with the other stuff. Okay.
Yeah. Exactly.
Pretty fair with that one.
Yeah, and then that. Yeah, you still have like a lot of bursts you can go into, right? You have like the Phalanx and the Goddess and stuff. Still some nice bursts that you can move into later. That'll help you with the higher level bosses. Yeah, it's good stuff.
I'm like kind of prepping my way to higher level bosses, which I don't know the requirements for, but hopefully one day I just get there.
What have you cleared so far? We didn't really talk about that. Like, what kind of bosses have you cleared?
I can clear all the way up to Lomian. I think Lomian I can like solo, but usually I do it with a friend.
He's just faster and doesn't take like
it
doesn't take like half an hour.
Yeah, it doesn't take like the whole time on itself. And like, easy breath.
Yeah.
So basically, me and him just like duo until like Lomian. We try out like easy elusive for a bit, but we kind of like gave up in the first stage because like we just keep dying to the golems and stuff. Like it was painful.
And then if you don't die to the golem, you die to the dragon because you're stuck in the golems.
Yeah, it was like really painful for like 2 people to do it. I was like,
you don't have the lines to cut through the golems.
Yeah, and then after that, we just gave out and was like, well, we'll try it out when we get more gear.
Yeah, or more people. Yeah, or like way more gear, so you can just blow through the stage and you don't have to worry.
Yeah, get more gear or just look for people to struggle party with. But I know me and him was like, we kind of look for a struggle party, but at the same time we're not, since like our time schedule is like pretty off.
Right, you're in are you in Australia or?
Yeah, Australia time zone, and then he's like, the any time zones like pretty rough. And so and plus he's like sometimes he work like really late too, and sometimes overtime, then he get home and like you play for a bit, and like, oh, okay, and then like the one day we play is like Friday, Saturday.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. If you're so strict, then it's or so limited in your playtime, then it's really hard to group up. Yeah. I mean, I try to have room in my like my Discord has a Lucid room, and I'm online a lot, so you can always ask in the chat. If I see anyone recruiting for a party in the chat, I'll always shout it out as well. Make sure that as many people see and hear it. If anything, like if I can use my platform for that, for at least like people who want to do boss fights together to meet each other, then that's like a value that I hope I can add with my channel and with my community.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else regarding the Matrix?
I think that's pretty much all of it. Besides just leveling up when I go around to it. But I want to ask a question about Ursus, because lately I'm getting the top 3 of Ursus, but it doesn't give me SS ranking, which is like kind of like weird, because because you usually I kind of thought that when you get like top 3 or something, you get like SS or triple S.
Yeah, it has to do because you can be rank 1 by just going in, hitting the bear once, and being dead the whole run. You could be rank 1. The ranking for Ursus is like really, really weird. The way that I find that you can kind of guarantee yourself to get double S is if you catch someone, or if you're like the only person who reses and you like res 2 people. That's like I think the only ways to really get like the double S's. Other than that, it's just the score is just all over the place.
Yeah, score is really all over the place. Because sometimes I get S, and then sometimes the other days I get one day I get SS. I'm like, why did I get SS here when I'm not even on the leaderboard? It's like, okay, I guess so.
Yeah, and sometimes if you have someone who disconnects or does very little, then everyone else gets a higher score, but only if you kill it within a certain time. Like I've had runs where the half of the group got a triple S and everyone else got a double S just because someone crashed and we killed it quickly. But then if you but that would be like an 18-man run. But then if you queue with but up till recently, if you queued with one person and you actually cleared it solo, you would only get a rank A.
Wait, what?
Now you get a rank S if you solo, and you get past a certain point of the HP. You can just get an S by yourself if you miss, like, party, if you're in EU or something. In NA, there's pretty much always parties going during 2x, so it doesn't really matter. But, yeah, there was even a time where if you soloed the whole bear and you killed it, you got a rank A. But sometimes you get a triple S just because someone DCs in an 18-man. It makes no sense. So it's best not to think about it too much. Try to go for catches if you can. Once you get your damage in, try to go for the reses if you can, if no one else is going for them. But other than that, it's just pure RNG, basically.
Yes, more RNG to this mushroom game of RNG. On top of more RNG.
We love it,
been
right?
Nice.
Add another layer.
We hate it, but we love it, dude. Love and hate relationship. 10 out of 10, to be honest.
Exactly.
I actually got one question about the Neo update. Is there anything that I should be looking out for?
Well, combined with right now, the droplets I think is huge. So I don't know if you have had a plan to buy out the current droplets because it's kind of expensive.
Yeah.
So Neo is going to have like another one of those stores where you can buy another 100 for 5 bill, at least, if you get the same thing as KMS does. And then has a separate store where you can buy out up to another 100, but that one is currency dependent based on how many of the hard bosses you can kill in a week within your account. Yeah, so basically all of the bosses, there's like a huge list, but it goes all the way up to like Hard Lucid, Hard Will, and I think even Varus Hilla and stuff is in there. Let's see if I can find Neo real quick to see which bosses count. But there's like 3 currencies, and one is just for the regular shop. One is for the the specialty shop with the cosmetics, and then one is one is based on the boss currency. So that one looks at how many bosses have you cleared, or which bosses are they? How many coins do you get from this currency, and then with those you can buy items from that special shop, and that's where also the droplets are. Let me see if I can find it.
So there's 3 droplet shops in Neo?
2, but then they have 50 of each in each, so a total of up to 200.
That's a lot of droplets, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, so we get because anniversary for KMS was like 6 or 7 months apart, but for us they were like back to back, so we just get 300 droplets out of nowhere. That's why I'm also saying if we get the same thing, because it could be possible that for balance sake that GMS says, well, maybe we'll space it out a little bit or change the numbers a little bit to make sure that we I'm looking for Neo Stones. I'm trying to look for, Neo Core Shop, Neo Meso Shop, and Neo Stone Shop. Oh, it just changes while I was looking at it. Yeah. See if I can find the items here real quick. Yeah, so Neo Stones is 300 per day per character, so that's like regular point capping thing. Neo Gems is 100 per day per character, so that's like linked to the little mini game thing where you can get up to 100, and I think that one is for the cosmetics if I'm not mistaken. And the Neo Cores is up to 400 per week per world, and so that looks at which type of boss have you killed. Can
anyone like coin cap with that one for the like a simple person that can do CLA or something?
Well, that's so that's kind of. But it's once per boss per week that it could be counted. So that's why I kind of wanted to look at which
solo? Oh,
yeah, or to see like for you specifically is like which bosses do you want to be able to work your way up to so that you can reliably quote unquote cap there, so you can see for yourself or so you can have realistic access to the droplets, right? Yes. But I'm trying to cores. Oh, here we go. Okay. So you have 5 cores for Hard Hilla, Chaos Ping Bean, Easy Cygnus, Normal Cygnus. So obviously you can't do both of those last ones. So you can get 15 there, right? That's already done. Okay. 10 for Chaos Zakum, Pierre, Van Bon, and Queen each.
Okay.
So you can do those. So you're at 55. And then you have Hard Magnus, Chaos Vellum. I think you can do those as well. That's 20 each.
Yep.
So that's 95 so far. So you're only 1/4 of the way. And then you have Chaos Papulatus, Normal Lotus, Normal Damien, and Easy Lucid for 30 each. And then you have 40 cores for Normal Lucid, Normal Will, Normal Gloom, and Darknell. And then 60 for Hard Damien, Hard Lotus, Hard Lucid, Hard Will, and 70 for Chaos Gloom, Chaos Darknell, and Varus Hilla.
This doesn't count like catchy, huh?
No, it doesn't count because it doesn't exist in KMS. Doesn't count Gollux, doesn't count Akechi, all of those, Princess No, those all kind of don't exist in these kind of events. So very, very low chance that they'll add those as well to the list. So if you're trying to get, I don't think you need to get the 400 to be able to buy items from the shop, but so the cores level up the stuff, and then you have the Neo Core shop. And then for 20 cores for Reboot you can buy the so you need 1,000. Oh, you need 1,000. Okay, so that's not too bad. So if you have 2,000 cores, you can buy out all the droplets. And this event runs. It's probably like an 8-week event or something, right? This a first update. Oh yeah, December 17th up until January 28th. So that's 6 weeks.
16? Something like that. I mean, 4 weeks, 4 months.
Well, that's the start. That's the start of Arc, so that's like 6 weeks until the start. So that might be even longer. So I think the shop might be up for like 8 weeks or something. So if this is like 8 weeks of capping and you need 2K, then you only need like 250 per week to be able to buy it out.
Oh yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, yeah, okay, good.
So 250, and you could do. No, you can definitely get, that's roughly 100 here, and then you can do Chaos Papulatus, Lotus Damien, those 3. That's an extra 90. So then you're almost at 200. Yeah. So if you could do Normal Lucid and Normal Will by then you should be good.
This is like in a month, I believe, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I should be able to if I keep playing at the rate I am. I think.
the big obstacle is going to be for Will is the level, right? People want to be at least 245, but closer to 250 to be able to do full damage, plus your arcane power. Ideally, you want to be at that 1140, which is probably very high for you right now, right? You're at 770. You're getting there. You definitely have to.
Yeah, right now I'm 750. Then after that, if I get to 235 and I use my compensation on Esfera, I should have a decent amount.
Oh yeah, how much do you have left of that, of these stuff?
I have like 505 of the compensation.
Okay.
And then on top of that, we also got like 100 from the VIP. So
yes, those as well. Yeah.
I got like a lot. Yeah. So I basically got like a plenty enough. Maybe enough to go to there. I don't know about that one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Someone said in chat you can also do easy sickness on a different character on your account, of course, who can't do normal, or who can do normal but just for the extra cores. That's also true. Yeah. Or do easy lucid on another character and do normal on another one. Yeah. To like double dip. If you can't do all of the highest level bosses, you can still kind of make sure that within your account you have all of the individual bosses done. Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you should be fine to be able to buy them out then. You're not getting to Varishilla by then, but you can make a lot of headway. Yeah, I think up to here might be able to do them. Yeah. I think what people will end up doing is doing like easy lucid carries or something on like tertiary characters.
I can see that a lot, to be honest. It's like easy, and then like some people, and it's like the gear people would do like normal lucid for their guilds or something. I guess we'll see that.
Yeah, you can have like basically, yeah, some people could just solo it and then have 5 people just get easy lucid, get the 150 neo cores combined. 2-5 accounts, that'd be worth it for droplets. Yeah, I think you could work your way up that. So have you tried like Chaos Papulatus and Akechi?
Yeah,
Are you clearing those?
Yep. I just did them today. No pat mark like always.
Yeah, like always.
Feels good, man.
Typical. Okay.
With the droplets, how do people usually transition into arcane from Absol stuff?
Yeah. It's gonna be a bit harder for you because you didn't get the temporary weapon, right? So that set bonus isn't immediately going to like jump in your face and be like, hey. How do people usually do that? So I think what most people do is end up making the weapon, which is either a really good idea or a really bad idea. Depends. So it is the most expensive item to make. It is also the item with the highest drop rate to make, but it is also the item that gives you the most damage increase. So that's where that's at, right? It's all of these things are just linked. But so if you can get to the point where you can kill the normal bosses pretty easily, and you are thinking about doing the hard bosses, you know, you're like getting closer to like 240, 245, and you want to start doing the hard bosses, at that point you'll need like good Abzo, or, you know, if you have Arcane on your mind, decent Abzo in terms of Star Force and all that, and then just go really, really hard on your accessories instead, so that you can get the higher Star Force power there, and then work your way into Arcane. But it looks like if you're in your current situation, you probably will have to start making the weapon to get a huge jump in damage, so that you can fit the requirements to be in the hard boss party, I think. Because if you don't, you're going to have to go for like 19, 20, or 21 Abzo to be able to meet the requirements, and then that will be a lot of money spent there that, you know, you would rather spend, or hold on to rather, and then spend on Arcane later once you make the switch.
Okay.
So are you like sitting on a lot of money right now, like waiting for events, or what's your current situation?
I'm just like doing weeklies and dailies while I'm like thinking, because like since there's a rumor about the Cuban event, I think if I should just like use my totems on the grinding for that instead of the 5, 10, 15, while the wikis and daily money I can use for the 5, 10, 15.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you kind of did you do the calculations a little bit, see if you'll have enough money for that?
I think I got like around like 4 to 5 bill for the 5, 10, 15 if I do my dailies and weeklies every single day. And then for grinding, I can like make 4 bill if I just grind out my totems.
Okay.
But yeah, but then this all depends if I want to. If for some reason the Cuban sales come out, then
Yeah.
I can just grind.
Yeah, because there's definitely a lot of stat gain to be made from your Abzo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be a main thing. Is yeah, if the cube sale comes out, it's probably gonna be a good idea to dump some on the Abzo, because there's a lot of pressure on the Abzo, of course, to perform, because they're level 160 gear, so you do want that potential to work for you. And specifically for the gloves, you want to get that critical damage there. That gives you a lot of stat equivalent in the range. So they get 1 line of crit damage, 1 line of stat or something will be really good damage increase. The flames like need work as well, but of course you can do that after, you know, when all of the sales and stuff and the events are gone. You don't want to be stuck spending all your money on flames and then, you know, not have any money left for a potential cube sale and for a Star Force sale, of course. So getting everything to 17 is definitely priority. If cube event comes up, I would probably prioritize just tiering up during a cube event, then roll the stats later. Yeah, and then definitely focus for the gloves, right? For the legendary, for the critical damage plus stat.
Yeah.
If you get lucky and you get critical damage plus decent sharp eyes or plus decent speed infusion, then it also frees up a matrix slot that you can throw a nice skill in, of course. So that's also a good possibility. And then work on the flames a little bit later. Besides that, the other thing is like because your main source of income is just training on your Nightwalker, right?
Yeah.
So, what's your current, like, you don't have like a defined mezzo set or anything, right?
Yeah, I don't have a defined one. I was like thinking of making one for like the longest time, but then 30% was coming up, and then other events was coming out too. Like, so much money investing there.
Yeah, so just push it down the line. Yeah. The thing is, of course, like the faster you get your drop rate and mezzo obtain set going, the faster it can start remaking its money, and as a result, it can start. Oh shit! I was supposed to log off yesterday. I forgot. GM was supposed to go on my account, fix my shit. Never mind. I just realized that. The faster you can get the mezzo and a drop rate going, the faster it can start making its money back, and the quicker you'll be able to stockpile money for events when they come. Now, of course, the events are going like back to back to back to back, so it is quite normal to extend it. Once you have your accessories at like epic or unique, and you want to move them from there to legendary for drop rate and mezzo, it's kind of a good situation to be in, because you want to aim for a line of drop or mezzo plus a line of main stat anyway, which will mean that you eventually get to kind of the same amount of luck as you already had. You don't really lose out on any luck, you don't lose out on any kill potential, but you do gain completely in terms of the utility for mezzo and drop rate. So do you have equips set up that you would use for that, or would you just use everything that you have now and just re-roll it for mezzo and drop plus some stat for now, and then, you know, maybe with event rings and stuff in Neo, maybe change it there?
Yeah, I was like thinking to use like event rings right now for the drop rate ring, like the stuff I have right now, like the Cosmos and Synergy ring. But then for the face and eye and the earrings and stuff, I was like, I kind of like confused on what to use still.
Yeah, for eye and face, it depends. Have you done Commercian, or do you have dineros built up or no?
Yeah, right now I was kind of like, you know, kind of doing the Dreadnought run, because I got nothing else to do with the dineros besides stacking up. So I was like, I can just like do the Dreadnought routes and just, you know, keep that on the side whenever I need dineros.
So, but you have already a Dreadnought, or are you working on it?
I'm working on it right now.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it takes a while. But you would have enough dineros to buy at least one eye and a face?
I got a tattoo, I believe.
Tattoo?
So I don't know if any is the
face.
other one. Yep.
Yeah. So okay. So you could get the other one. We don't necessarily need the other one, because the black B mark also goes up to 20. And can go to 17 soon. Yeah. Yeah, so like tattoo, black B mark, and then you probably keep the Deacidus earrings, like, because the only next move is the Superior Galax, and that's only if you have the set bonus. Even like without the set bonus for the Superior Galax coming in, the Deocidus earrings are still better than them because of the set bonus of the boss accessory set. It's really weird, the situation that it's all in now, but that's, yeah, the Deocidus earrings, that's why it's a good move to get those to 17, because they'll just stick with you for quite a while longer. So you can just get those to Legendary and get Drop Rate or Mezzo on them. That'll be the move, yeah. Yeah, I'll probably get the Blackbeam Mark to 17, Deocidus earrings, and then get the Tattoo to 17. That'd be like your eye face earring. And then, yeah, you can keep the same 2 pendants. Yep. And then, yeah, you're trying to go on, yeah, just these rings, I guess. Were you thinking of getting any other rings, like the Vengeful, maybe?
No, I was thinking of trying to get the Chaos ring, to be honest, to replace the Kana ring.
Right, so you can get the Kana ring for damage, yeah, and then the Chaos for, yeah. Yeah, sounds like a good plan. Yeah, so again, like, it depends on how much money you will have. Keep in mind how much it's going to take to get the stuff to 17. Keep that money aside, because that's like the top priority, but it's later down the road. But you want to make sure that you can definitely do that when it comes around. But yeah, if you can work on getting the stuff to Legendary, if there's a cube sale, right, again, like if, then also getting your accessories to Legendary. Trying to get those to Legendary will be a very important thing to try to do. Get that Mezzo and drop. And then ideally, Mezzo drop and a line of stats so you don't lose too much kill potential. Because you do want to make sure that you keep your stat high because you want your bats to be able to kill.
Yeah.
That's important.
Also, for my secondary, is it better to like make a second one for grinding and then using that for bossing?
Yeah. That's a tough one. The thing is, in the situation that you're now, and you're not like, you know, you're not someone with a kind of farmer who's making like 5 bill a day, and then I'd be saying like, yeah, of course, make a new one, because re-rolling this one is too risky, and you can just make another one, and you have all the money lying around. In your situation, I don't know if that would be. I think that would be. You already have so many things to work on and to you know, spend money on now. I think now would not be a good time to make that decision. I would wait until like after the, you know, after you get the Abzo to 17 and get some stuff to Legendary. If after that you feel like you're still lacking kill potential and you still need more damage, then I think you can revisit that. But by that time you'll also be working on the Abzo weapon, right? And that'll be a pretty decent boost. You'll probably aim for 2 lines of attack on the weapon. Let's say that your weapon ends up with like, I don't know, like a line of attack, a line of IED, and a line of boss or something like that. Then you can be like, okay, maybe now I reroll it. But considering how good the secondary is compared to all the other stuff you have right now, I would say it's a low priority of something to work on. I would almost be more inclined to work on your emblem instead, because that is, as good as that is still pretty easy to roll back into versus a secondary, because secondary has way more junk lines, so on average it's way more expensive to roll something good on a secondary. It's almost twice, I think, as expensive as rolling something good on your emblem. And then let's say that your emblem rolls like, I don't know, like attack, IED, or, you know, attack, IED, damage, something like that. You know, you basically want to see the potential of your weapon, secondary, and emblem as like one big blob of damage addition. But per item there's still like a differential of how expensive it is. So you can use the cubing simulator to kind of see what is the expected cost of stuff. But like the emblem is the cheapest, then the weapon, then the secondary.
Do you think I should like red cube the emblem beside black cubing?
Well, not right now, right? Because again, there's so much other stuff to work on. When the other stuff is all done and the dust settles, I think you'll be, you know, near like the end of Neo, because you're going to look at, okay, full equipped Mezzo set with like all a line of Mezzo drop and a line of stat. Everything 17 star, the Abzo legendary with 2 or 2.5 lines of potential, good flames on those. Like after that, probably revisit after that, probably like, yeah, if you have enough money, like just mass red cube on the emblem. See if you can settle in something nicer, maybe something like 21 attack, maybe 18 with some you know, with some ID, something like that. But again, it'll depend on when you switch to the Abzo weapon, what you end up getting on the Abzo weapon. That'll be one of the main important things. And you'll have to flame your Abza weapon. That'll be very important. And getting the Abza weapon to 17, you know, all of that stuff.
Okay.
So that's like, yeah, that is something to consider. But yeah, you were getting pretty far ahead already.
Also, right now, I for some reason I have like a thing to do. It's basically my level will always say like the same, but I actually want to like gear up my character to reach a certain spot beside going to that level. Is it better just to level up beside like waiting for gear, or to gear up while just like staying at like 230 or 235?
So specifically, you want to get the Nightwalker to, you're saying like, yeah, like balancing your time spent on equips versus on training on the Nightwalker to get stronger, basically.
Yeah.
Well, kind of like the same as with Legion. I think it's always like a little bit of a combination of both. You want to make sure that you don't lose prep time for backups and stuff, but you make a lot of money just by training. So you don't get directly stronger from training, not so much. Like, you know, 5 levels, you get an extra slot, and you get a matrix point every level, and you get 5 AP, whoop-de-doo. Like, that doesn't do much. The real reason that you get stronger is level penalty difference, right? So if you're working towards Will, he's level 250. So right now, if you wanted to, you know, like, right now you can't even go to Will. If you're 235, you get access to Will. You only deal like 12% of your damage or something, right? So you want to make sure that you get the levels in there, because you basically lose final damage penalty for gaining levels. That's the main value there for leveling. But at the same time, you want to work on your gear. But you already know how you're going to be working on your gear, and that's by throwing money at it. And how do you get money? By killing monsters and by leveling the character. So it's a, you know, it's always like a combination of the things. You have to make sure that everything works directly. So now that you kind of have more concrete of a plan, right, on where to spend your money and when to spend it on there, now you need to make sure that you can make those plans work. And the more money you have to play with, the less strict you have to be, and the less corners, well, not corners you have to cut, because that would be the opposite, but like the less you have to be like, okay, I can't participate in this event at all because I need to save my money for something else. And that's why, you know, people who farm more and have a farming con and just train an insane amount, that's why they get so strong, because they don't have to be as restricted by events. They can just go off event as well, and they can just kind of brute force their way through the game. Yeah, does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely use your totems. That's what I'm trying to do more now as well, because I've been neglecting those.
With my hyperstat, is using the calculator good, or do I just like ignore the calculator and just like stick with the stuff that I have right now?
It looks pretty good. So like, yeah, you want to get your crit rate to, so you have 100%. You have that. You could get to the point, so if you're bossing and you basically are doing bosses that you don't really have any trouble killing, what you could end up doing also is switching out your boss damage, and in some cases even your IED, but maybe not for you, for like extra EXP percentage or extra arcane power if you're in an area where you need the arcane power to be able to train. You know, for one day you could switch to this set and like do all your weekly bosses in a day, and then switch it back to more of a mobbing setup. Let's say that you train in an area where you know, if you want to get that 50% final damage, you need like 860 or something, or 850, right? Let's say that you can get that amount by resetting some of your IED and your boss damage into arcane power instead. Well, now that's definitely something you want to do, because you know, maybe you'll be a 30% bonus now and you go to 50, getting 20% final damage versus like no loss when you're training whatsoever, just by redoing your hyperstat points would be crazy, right? Because that's when you go for the final damage boost. And if you're looking for damage output, the order is always like, okay, if you can gain final damage, that's like the most important form of damage. Then the second one is gain critical damage. That's the second most important one. After that is gaining damage, and then after that it's gaining, you know, stat, and like attack and then stat, right? From your hyperstat. That's kind of the order. So arcane power can represent final damage. So if it does for your personal situation, that would be a really good thing to put your hyper stat points in. If it doesn't, you know, you go to the next one, you go to critical damage. And then of course critical damage is connected with critical rate. So in that order, like your points are distributed very well for bossing, but for mobbing, depending on your situation, it could be optimized.
Okay.
Yeah, calculator is a little bit tricky. The higher you go, I think the more value comes from a calculator. Because once you have like level 255 or something, and you can get some things to level 12 or 13, like I can't do those maths in my head either. Like I don't know if level 12 on IED is better than 11 on critical damage and 11 on damage or something. I don't know that. There's so small percentages that interact with so many moving parts. Like, yeah, I would have to throw that in a calculator as well. I kind of wing it because, you know, I think I have a decent understanding how damage works, and I can't imagine that I'm losing like multiple percentages of final damage by doing the points myself versus a calculator. It's probably like point something percent final damage at most, and I don't care enough to throw it all in a calculator. But, you know, once I get to 270 or 275 and I'm really, you know, doing the hardest bosses in the game, like actually doing Black Mage and stuff like that, yeah, then I'll definitely throw it into a calculator just to make sure that, yeah, that I'm not off by too much. But at this point, yeah, it's not going to make that huge of a difference.
Okay, so basically just leave it as is, and then look back at when I'm like higher level, and then just check in the calculator.
Yeah, the other thing is also, of course, you have to take into account the kill speed of your bats, right? If you can get your bats to a certain kill speed, where that makes a huge effect on how quickly you can progress, or your experience per hour, that'll be something to be worth looking into. Yeah, and that might be a little bit more specific Nightwalker, if you're in like a Nightwalker Discord or something, where they can probably let you know, like, oh, in this area, yeah, if you're like, you know, if you're like 22k stat or something and your boost nodes are this level, you want to have roughly this much, you know, they'll be able to give you those more exact numbers that, of course, I don't know exactly for every single class in the game. That'll be a little bit too much, but
yeah. Also, how do I know when to like start like focusing on my potentials and the flames and my Star Force and stuff like that?
So you're familiar with the progression grid that I have?
Yeah.
So I kind of try to keep the balance there between all the modes of upgrading, keeping in mind like how expensive is it, what is the potential gain, what are the events and blah blah blah. So if you keep that in mind, you want to aim for, so like you're like, you know, according to this grid, you know, people can have different opinions, of course. You're like halfway through the or like close to halfway through the late game, right? Okay. So that means like main stat wise, you probably want to be like moving from like 20 to like towards 25k, which will probably happen with all the upcoming changes, you know, just fixing your potentials that you have, going for the higher Star Force, all of that. That's like definitely the area that you're moving into. And then like crit rate, you're there already. Total damage, I think you're there already as well, right? Because you're like over 440. Yeah, so that's all good. Functional IED, so that you calculated, you're already there as well, so that's all good. And then Legion level, so you're at 4 now, right? So you're also kind of like where you want to be, but you're going to be moving definitely towards 5 or maybe even beyond 5 because of the current events. So that's also on track. And then Star Force is probably your 273. Okay, we're actually already at the higher end. Maybe I need to readjust this a little bit. 263 is really good. Let's see if there's something that I didn't count. That's even with event rings. I guess I'm usually counting at this point that people are mainly or almost only using event rings. So that's maybe a bit. That's why I might be a little bit on the lower end. Oh yeah, and hearts. I didn't 100% account for hearts because of because those events aren't always around, right? And I didn't want people who didn't get a heart to feel like they're like way behind or something just because there wasn't an event that allowed them to get that item. Yeah, but may have to readjust it a little bit, because when it comes to Star Force, there's definitely some gains for you to make right now, but that will get you very close to that as well. Weapon Flame, of course, you're going to work on more once you get the actual Absolab weapon. Node Stones, I think for the boost nodes, you're really close to this, right? You're close to level 20 on the boost nodes.
Yeah.
And the skill nodes are around level 5, yeah. Well, that's level 20 total, so you're like way beyond this. And then Arcane Power, you're at 770. So, yeah, that one's on track too. With the compensation, you'll definitely get pushed beyond. So when it comes to like all of these metrics, you're definitely like where you want to be, or even like on the upper end, so that you're not in like any danger area for any kind of metric to be like, hey, you're really undervaluing this one. You need to work way harder on this. With the things that we talked about and with the plans that you have, you know, with bonking, with Legion, all of that stuff on the horizon, I think you're like right on track for everything. There's not anything that you're like way overboard on, and there's not anything that you're way underboard on. I think you're way within the metrics. So when it comes to spending your money, basically at this point, you just let yourself be guided by events. You know, if there's a cubing event, you just go a bit harder on cubing. If there's a Star Force event, you go harder on Star Forcing. And if there's no event, you either work a little bit on your flames or you just save money for big projects, basically.
Yeah, okay. Also, for the Pink Holy Cup, is it better to use that cup besides the one I'm using? Or do I just like swap them?
I see a 40 and 5.
Yes.
Wait, you have an... oh, and then you have this one, the 5 attack and 6 all. Right. Yeah, so you're familiar with Flame Score and how that all works?
Kind of.
So what the Flame Score tries to do is it tries to say, hey, here are all the things, here are all the stats on your item that give you any kind of damage, and here's how good that those stats will be compared to... and it just gives it like a score, and the score is basically trying to say, if everything was just main stat, this is how much main stat it would be the same amount of damage increase as all of these different numbers that you have that also give you damage, is what the Flame Score tries to do. So what it means is you have to have some kind of balance to be able to give that score, right? You can't just like, piss in the wind and see where it lands, right? You have to have kind of a basis for that. So what we keep in mind is basically in progression, all of this. So let's say that you generally follow like the numbers in this progression, which you generally do. That's where those numbers come from, and you have this balance of how much main stat do you have, how much damage do you have, etc., etc. Within those metrics, there's roughly a value for like 1% all stat. How much damage do you get from 1% all stat, depending on what class you are, and if you have those metrics and those level of upgrades and access to those link skills, that Legion, etc., etc. And because Flame Score looks into the future, into how good it's going to be, it is possible that in your current situation, something that technically has a lower Flame Score still gives you more range, but that's because your account is still forming, right? You have some legendary items, you have some epic items, you have some good link skills already, some boost nodes are still leveling. Like there's a lot of things that are still fully in development. And because of that, the exact Flame Score, so you're free to just use whatever cup gives you the most range. But make sure that if you have something that technically, according to the calculate and according to the balance, will get a higher Flame Score later, that you hold on to that, because eventually that will get better.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but in the current situation, you just switch to one that gives you 5k more range, that's fine. Also, the further you go, you'll start to notice that if something gives you 5k range, that's basically exactly the same, because, once you go into the tens of millions of range, 5,000 just, doesn't make any kind of difference, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think the last question I would need to ask is like just preparation for bosses, or the requirements for like bosses, like Lucid and Will.
Yeah.
And basically the steps and stuff, the steps to take to go to those bosses.
Yeah, so 1140 is mentioned here in the grid for the requirement for Arcane Power, because that's the one that you need to deal 50% more final damage to Will. So for normal Will, that might not be required, but for hard Will, people definitely want that. And at least to be level 250. Some people put level 255 because you get more final damage if you're up to 5 levels higher than your target. But most people will be okay with like a party that's, you know, close to or a little bit above level 250, like around there. But that's like for hardwell. So when it comes to normal, for normal Lucid, I found that if you have a party of people who are really close to or able to solo Lotus and Damien in like a reasonable time, so not like, you know, 30-minute time, but like, you know, like in half that time, maybe like in or maybe a little bit less than half, like within 10 minutes, if the whole party can do that, then you can definitely start doing normal Lucid in a party. The thing in the beginning for normal Lucid is going to be like lines, right? You need to have enough lines within your party to be able to kill the golems. And some parties can, unironically, some parties can struggle with normal Lucid because they might not get through phase 1 if they, you know, struggle with the golems too much, but they actually might be able to do hard Lucid because the hard Lucid golems don't have that restriction of damage per line. You could just blow those up if you have enough damage. So theoretically, if you take a party with that can just, you know, barely solo hard Lucid but has a very low amount of line output, it is possible that they actually fail on normal but clear hard, which is really, really weird, but that's just because of the mechanics. KMS did say that they are changing the golem damage for easy and normal Lucid to be just normal damage like for hard Lucid. But until we get that change, yeah, that's just a reality I have to deal with. So it might be necessary to pick up 1 or 2, or maybe even, you know, well, probably 2 people who are like more dedicated to golem damagers. So you're looking at classes like Dawn Warriors, Cannoneers. Kanas do a good job as well. Nightwalkers have a lot of line output, but, you know, ideally you want all those lines to go into Lucid, of course, and not into the golems. Arc has okay line output. Heroes can do very well now at clearing the golems near Lucid, at least in the middle, because of their enraged mode being empowered, so they're constantly attacking too as well. There's more and more classes with a lot of line output that can help. Luminous, Ice Lightning, these can put out a lot of lines. So I think Thunderbreakers can work a little bit. Dual Blade? Yeah, Dual Blade throws tornadoes out. Yeah, so there's more and more classes that can help a lot. If you have none of these classes, you will struggle a lot. But if you have a few of these, you'll start noticing whether you really still get stuck on golems, or you have 1 or 2 people perpetually on golem duty to just like focus on the golems and kind of ignore the boss. Because it's fine if the boss fight lasts a little bit longer, right? You're usually not in any kind of time trouble with the party, you know, as long as everyone is able to solo like Lotus and Damien in a reasonable time. Usually I think that's a good gradient, because not only do you have enough damage, but you also have the determination to practice, to know the boss mechanics of Lotus and Damien, and that will just help you get to, you know, get used to the boss mechanics of Lucid faster and just be able to, you have people who are willing to boss and willing to put in the time. That's also a good reason to have that as a litmus test, basically. And then for Will, it's basically if you can do normal Lotus, you can also go up to normal Will. You'll just need more levels. So you probably want to be at least 240, but probably around 245 or higher with the whole party to be able to start practicing normal Will. And for normal Will, it's just like check out a video of the mechanics beforehand. Just make sure you're in voice comms with each other, and make sure you be patient with each other, and hold on to your chairs for phase 2, because that's just, you're going to need to fail phase 2, like in total, probably 15 or 20 times. You're going to have to fail the tests with your whole party before everyone just gets it and is able to do it without failing. There's just a huge amount of mechanics that comes at you for Will out of nowhere, and it's just important to start doing practice runs and just to feel it hands-on. Because watching a video is one thing, and reading an explanation is another thing, but doing it in the game is just, that's where you get your practice. So probably like 245, but if you already did the normal Lucid, you probably meet the requirements for normal Will also.
Okay. Also, we've gone to Arcane. How did that work right now? Because with all jobless and stuff like that.
Yeah, so we did see in KMS they're making the droplet exchange a thing, right? So it kind of depends on how far you're going to be training and how many droplets you're going to get from training. Ideally, if you want to make it's kind of like the same with the Lotus and the Damien shop, where you can make everything in the Lotus shop, but then you have like nothing to get from the Damien store, only the shoulder, right? So it's kind of the same with Lucid and Will. You could get everything from the Lucid shop with the Lucid droplets, but then you only have the shoulder to get with the Will droplets, which in the beginning seems normal because you don't have that many Will droplets anyway. But then as soon as you leave the areas and you go, into the higher level areas where you'll be for way longer, you'll have an overabundance of those droplets. So ideally with the event shops, I think it's a good idea to try to use the Will. So start, leveling up to 240 to 245, get to being able to do normal Will, so you can start getting the Will droplets and see if you can buy the weapon with the Will droplets and start from there, and then save your Lucid droplets for Lucid items. And then wait until either you have enough and go like full 17 and switch, or if you get a drop, just buy whatever extra you haven't gotten yet with the droplets to like complete the set, and then eventually you'll definitely get enough droplets on top of that to be able to buy the shoulder. But yeah, that's why starting like normal Will soon will be a good idea, because even if your party is, once you're like okay with normal Will and you're clearing normal Will, that's probably also the time when you want to start looking at hard Lucid at that point. And I think that with all of the stuff, you probably have a decent amount of burst, but you probably will be at the lower end if you're just full 17 star and like 2-line legendary and okay flames and everything. You'll probably still be on the lower end of burst, and you're pretty burst heavy as a Nightwalker, so you want to make sure that you hit like the 3.5 to 4 trill maybe. And that will be very hard to do without the arcane weapon. So it's going to be a matter of like training enough to get enough droplets, plus the 2 event shops, plus enough normal Will clears, and then probably try to buy the weapon from the Will shop, and then go from there.
Okay. Also, is it good to start off Golix, or like the start of Golix from like itself, or do I have to like prep all the stuff to go into Golix?
Yeah, they're super expensive to back up, right? So talk about this a few times in the previous sessions as well. There's like 3 ways you can do it, and there's the cheap way, and it's that's with the highest risk, and then there's the most expensive way with the lowest risk, and then there's the intermediate. And it depends on what you want your end goal to be. So if you're aiming on 17, always just go on the item. It makes no sense to switch around. As soon as you're aiming, if you're aiming for like 18, I would probably still go on the item itself, because having to go all the way to 19 just to transfer down to 18 for 1 extra star, that doesn't seem ever worth it. If you're going to transfer over, I would do it at least for like 21 down to 20 on the target item. So if you're aiming for 20 on the superior, or 21 or 22, there's like more efficient ways for each one to do it. But even if it's more efficient, it still depends on how much risk are you willing to take, and how many backup coins do you have that allow you to take more risk or not. So most of the time, if you're aiming for 20, I would say get a level 140 item to 21 during 5, 10, 15, and then transfer hammer it to 20, and then just rework the item on 20. And then once you have everything at 20 and you want to go beyond, you take the lowest risk item then, probably like the CRA stuff, maybe the Sweetwater stuff, and then eventually get everything to 21, because, if something booms, you have to start over. But the fact that a bunch of items will get from 20 to 21, those will kind of accommodate for the fact that one item will drop from 20 back down to 17. That won't be a huge loss there. If you're aiming for 21, there's 2 major ways, right? You can go for 22 star at level 140, transfer it over to 21, and then you're done. That's like the most expensive way, but the lowest risk way. So that would be advisable if you have a lot of money, but you don't have a lot of backups. Then that would be like the more efficient way to do it. If you have a lot of backups, but low money, the best way would probably to go for 21, transfer over to 20, and then try to go from 20 to 21 again on the item. That'll be way cheaper, but of course it comes with some risk of booming from 20 to 21 on your superior. So you want to make sure you have at least 1 backup, or enough coins to buy another backup if you want to do that. So that might be advisable for things like the earring and the belt, because they can drop from Golix himself. But typically for pendants and for rings, you'll probably go the other route, where you try to unload more of the risk off onto the Meister ring or Kana ring, or Dominator pendants, right? You want to risk more on those and potentially booming those because those are easier to get backups for than to have to spend, is it 900 coins? I forget for a second. 700?
Yeah, 700.
Yeah, which is a lot to have to just rebuy because you happen to boom 20 to 21. Some people just risk it and they're fine. Some people risk it and they regret it horribly. Yeah, that's kind of on you, on like how risk averse are you and how many backups do you have. But those are your main options.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I actually think this is with the last question, which is for Sweetwater accessories, like just preparation for the Sweetwaters. Since right now I have like a Dawn pendant which I can transpose.
Yep.
After I hit the 16 stars.
Yep.
And flame it down. So I was thinking about like the other preparation for the other Sweetwaters.
For the other Sweetwaters, yeah, but that's just the eye in the face, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's get the Dreadnought and get just a metric fuck ton of Dineros, so that you can... Basically, what I like to do is I'm okay with doing dailies. I don't like farming or training very much. So I go by the way of having a lot of backups and not a lot of money, which means that I go for the... typically, I go for like the high risk on the source item and then go into... the backup, unless, right, there's items where you have to go directly on the item for the eye patch, for the tattoo, for some other items, for CRA. Like, it doesn't really make sense at all to go for a lower level item and transfer it over in most situations. So, like, when it comes to the tattoo and the monocle, it's just get a lot of the narrows back up and just, you know, wait for a 5-10-15 and just send it. So there's ways to go about this, and I also talked about this in the last progression session. What you can do when everything is 17 is go 1 star at a time and just, you know, try to get everything to 18. And basically make like a list of, okay, where is it the highest risk? Like, where do I have the least backups? And those are the items that you stop with the fastest. Like, okay, maybe you get to 18 and then you stop. Now there's too much risk. And then some other items might go up to 19 and then maybe then it's too much risk. And some items might go all the way up to 21, right? So it is possible that in one session you go 1 star at a time, but that doesn't mean that you have to get everything to 20 before you try something to 21, or that you have to get everything to 18 before you try one item to 19, because different items have different levels of risk based on their backups. So let's say that monocles are probably in the average risk area, but more towards the lower end of the risk, right? Because basically the only items with lower risk would be the CRA, because you can get so many backups there. There's no risk of ever really running out of those. Even people who've blown up like 20 will always still have backups once they're at the point where they're like going for 22 stars. But of course your limitation is how many Dineros you have. So if you get both of them to 18, let's say that you take your pendant, your monocle, and your tattoo as like one group because they have the same backup resource, right? Let's say you get all of them to 18, no problems. Let's say you go for 19 and then one of them blows up, okay? You work on that one again. Let's say you blow them up like 6 more times and then you just settle at 17. That's fine. Now you just have to work on getting more Dineros. If you get all of them to 20, and you know, that doesn't mean that you have to go for 21 now, but maybe you start looking at other items. Okay, what's another item with some lower risk that might, you know, go from 18 to 19 now, or maybe getting the CRA from 20 to 21, right? So every item has like its own risk assessment value based on backups, access to backups, and how much chance of boom it is based on your current amount of stars. And you want to kind of keep that internal balance, and you just, yeah. So one part is looking at the calculator and seeing like how much is going to cost me. So that kind of depends just on your level and how high the star force already is. And the other thing is looking at the calculator is like, what is the chance of booming, and comparing that to how many backups do you have.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, that all made sense?
Yep.
It was a lot of me talking, but if that all makes sense, yeah, I'll put it on YouTube as well, so you can listen to it back, make sure that you got everything. If you have any like big questions or anything that you, I mean, double check now, I guess. Did we get to everything that you wrote down, all the questions you had?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, current event shop is probably, so you said we're going for the Chaos Ring, and the droplets, and then probably you can get some flames with coins. Or or the Meister rings, right? The Meister cubes for the event rings.
Yeah, yeah.
That might be a good one too. Because you can buy 100 of those per account, which is a lot. Up to 7,000 coins you can just dump into that.
Is the Master cubes transferable full account?
No, those are per account. Those are per character, untradeable.
Okay.
Yeah, I double checked that because I wanted to be sure. Like, oh, if you can cap on a bunch of characters, you can just transfer a whole bunch of them over. No, sadly, no.
Sad.
Yeah, that would have been really cool, but
yeah,
unlucky. I guess if it was transferable, the total amount would have been lower.
Yeah, so basically, Master Cube. If not that, I can go for the flame my Dominator and my gear.
Yep, and your weapon, right? When you get your weapon.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a very important one.
Yeah, I actually have my weapon right now. Just need to like Star Force and potential it, make it better.
Right. Well, you have the 16 Fafnir already to transfer over. Did you? So is it 15 Abzo now?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you can start flaming it. Yeah. Yeah. Having a good flame there is going to be very important. Set bonus is going to be very nice.
Yeah, then you get the potential and to get the ID back. Well, try to get ID on those on a different piece. But yeah, mostly just gonna farm until 5, 10, 15 and cube event if that ever happened.
Yeah. Wait, so what's your functional ID is like around 93-ish now because of the weapon change, or?
I actually don't know after the weapon change because after the weapon change it's just 84 visual, which is like
without the
yeah.
Yeah, but you have your boost notes 20, and then you have your passive. I forget what it is, like 27 or something. It's like a
35
or 35. Yeah, so that's pretty big.
Yep.
Yeah, and then your familiars, and then you have the current event buff. Of course, it's not going to be around forever, but it's around for a while longer. You do have access to more in your link skill, in your Legion board, right? You could go a little bit higher on IED there if you build up the Legion a bit more. Yeah.
And it doesn't keep in the 9% from the mage.
Yeah. 9%. Yeah. True. Yeah. So it is possible that functionally you're still fine, but yeah, for all the bosses, especially if you're working on Lotus, Damien, and everything up, it's probably safer to just go for at least one line of it. It wouldn't be a bad thing to settle on, and then later, if you go for your emblem and you end up like, I don't know, like 12, 9, and 30 or something on the emblem, something like that is pretty common, then you can just like full send on the weapon to go like hard attack there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if anything still pops up and if it's like a little bit more complicated, hit me up on Discord. Otherwise, I'm always available in chat, or some other helpful people in the chat will be more than willing to help you out or point you in the right direction. But I wish you the best of luck.
Yeah, thank you, you too.
Yeah, no problem. And I'll see you around.
Yep.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, cool. Okay, so yeah, he made a lot of progress really recently. I think he'll do just fine. He's on track for the droplets. Yeah, droplets are really expensive at this stage in the game, but I think they're just so valuable. So I would definitely advise everyone who, even in this situation, and it does suck because there's a 5, 10, 15 coming. There might be a cube sale and the droplets, but you have until the end of the first week of June to buy out the droplets, so you still have more than a month to like make that money back, to get those 5 bill back. So that is something to take in, take into account with all of that. But with all of that said, hopefully this was enjoyable for you guys to listen to or to watch, and hopefully there's at least 1 or 2 things that you guys picked up from this session that you didn't realize yet, or that helps you in your progression throughout MapleStory. If you want one of these sessions yourself, or you have data to send to me, check the description of the video. There, I am taking data in form of battle analyses, monster skill per hour, loud music, and training videos in Tenebris for all classes. Really still looking for this input to help make resources for the community, to help people and to share data with everyone so that people can have a better idea on which characters they want to play in the game. So thank you in advance for all that information. And thanks for watching. And I'll see you on the next one.